The plan was Callum's idea, and it was simple and devastating, and it worked exactly as intended. Nate and Priya had been careful in the way people who think they are smarter than they are tend to be careful. They met at specific times, always at her place, always on evenings when Callum worked late and I was at my weekly dinner with my mother that I had kept on the same night for 3 years without missing it. They had built their entire arrangement around our routines, and that predictability was ultimately what undid them. Callum suggested we swap. The following Thursday, I told Nate I was going to my mother's dinner as usual, and Callum told Priya he would be working late as usual, and then we drove to Callum's apartment and waited. Callum had installed a doorbell camera 2 days earlier that I was very glad he had thought of. At 7:43, Nate arrived at the front door with a bottle of wine tucked under his arm like he was going somewhere completely normal. I watched him on the camera from the living room couch, and I want to be honest that seeing it happen in real time and already knowing it was happening are two entirely different experiences, and I was not as prepared for the difference as I thought I was. Callum put his hand on my arm without saying anything, and I appreciated that more than I could have explained in the moment. We gave it 40 minutes. Then Callum knocked on his own front door. I stood directly behind him. The door opened, and Priya's face went through 6 different expressions in about 2 seconds, before landing on something that was not quite horror and not quite guilt, and was somehow worse than both. Nate appeared behind her and went completely still when he saw me. Nobody said anything for what felt like a very long time. Then Callum said calmly, "I just came to get some things," and walked directly past both of them into his own apartment like they were not there. I looked at Nate and said, "I hope it was worth it," and then I followed Callum inside and pulled the door closed. We could hear them on the other side for a few minutes, and then we could not. Callum and I ordered food, sat on his couch, and did not talk about either of them for the rest of the night. We talked about everything else. We have been talking about everything else ever since. Nate has called me 14 times. I have not answered once. Callum told me last week that Priya had sent him a long message asking if there was any chance they could work through it. He read it to me out loud and then deleted it and asked me what I wanted for dinner. I told him. He ordered it without making anything of the moment, and I sat there thinking that was probably the most telling thing anyone had done for me in a long time. That was 3 weeks ago. I have not thought about Nate once since.